fascinating for you now. So Patrick Vallance, the former chief medical advisor to the government during COVID, is back in the news saying when it comes to Britain's mental health epidemic, there's a lot of scientific enthusiasm for using psychedelic drugs in the treatment of depression, PTSD and anxiety. And he's encouraging more research into that. In America, the trend is already well underway. So is this something we really should be tuning into here in the UK, or is it a bit far out, man? Joining me here in the studio to discuss all of this, Dr. David Erizzo, Clinical Director of the Centre for Psychedelic Research at Imperial College London, and Talk TV contributor Esther Cracker joining us once again. But let's head out first to Denver, Colorado, and speak to Tracey Tee, who's a founder of the group M.O.M Mushrooms. Hi, Tracey. Thanks so much for making time for us. Just tell us what M.O.M Mushrooms is all about.
M.O.M Mushrooms was created to form an online digital community and educational platform for the safe and intentional use of microdosing, specifically psilocybin. And I did this because I feel like this medicine really hits different when you're a mother. And we need to have education, access to resources, and learn in communities to work safely with this medicine.
So psilocybin is an active ingredient in magic mushrooms, to my knowledge. And how do you think how do you think it improves your life as a mother?
Gosh, as a mother, as a woman, as a human, what we found is, and certainly what I've experienced with microdosing psilocybin is just an overall better sense of well-being. I feel less anxious, more creative, more present with my family, less reactive, and it just sort of smooths out the rough edges.
Have you microdosed psilocybin today, recently? Would you say you're on it now?
I did not microdose today. You don't ever want to microdose every day.
Or before going on television.
You always want to take days off.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're not high. So when you microdose, I'm never high. So you wouldn't know even if I did.
And that is
I typically take, that is definitely worth mentioning. Microdose is a sub-perceptual dose. So usually around 1 gram of magic mushrooms is where you start to feel it in your body, maybe see some hallucinogenics. A microdose is anywhere from 50 milligrams to around 150 milligrams. So a very small dose. And again, that's very important for moms on mushrooms to reiterate, because obviously we don't need mothers feeling the effects of a psychedelic drug while we're taking care of our kids.
Yeah, of course. Tracey, it's really good to get your insights. We've got a doctor in the studio I want to come to just to respond to some of the comments made there. Talk to us a little bit about the research that's going into these psychedelic compounds.
Yeah, so what Tracey is talking about is microdosing, which is psychedelic microdosing. So same compounds, but used in a tiny dose, as Tracey was talking about, and it's repeated, so frequent ingestions over a longer period. So the main bulk of the research that is most progressed is actually a different version of it, which is a full dose. So where people actually have changed perception, so altered state of consciousness, a sort of awake, dreamlike state. And that is very few sessions. And then it is after people have been sort of prepared well for the session, psychologically supported, and with psychological integration after. So that's quite different use of the same drugs, complete different dose, and much fewer sessions. And that is what is really showing a lot of promise at the moment. We have done trials, the first in decades, of any psychedelic intervention for depression. We have done at Imperial. We have worked on these compounds for more than a decade, doing a lot of brain imaging, trying to understand how these drugs work, try to understand the brain better, try to understand the conditions better. And overall, with these full dose, which is different from microdosing, but with the same compounds such as psilocybin, the results are very, very promising for depression in particular, but also even upcoming data that is evolving for other conditions, addictions, OCD, anxiety, PTSD. MDMA is very progressed in the development for PTSD as well.
Well, I think sort of one of the obvious hurdles to this becoming mainstream is obviously social stigma. We'll come to you, Esther, on that, lined up for that. But are there any other hurdles? Why is there lack of research? I mean, it sounds like there are benefits here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there is stigma surrounding these compounds, and that has probably made it a bit difficult early on to actually restart and reopen this research. But I would say at the moment, I think regulators, even politicians, are starting to waking up a bit and say this should be prioritized. Maybe the scheduling should be revisited. And regulators are also, because of a big gap in mental health treatments that are efficient, a lot of people suffering, millions of people suffering severe mental illness around the world. And 40% or more are not responding well, are not actually responding to the treatments that are available. Therefore, there's a big gap. Therefore, it's being supported with a new paradigm. And it's an interesting paradigm where pharmacology, medicine meets psychology, because it's a mixed model, which is very appealing and very interesting, and really does at this point look promising, not just in our trials at Imperial. Other centers are doing the same thing and showing the same results. Pharma companies, smaller ones so far, are doing important work and showing the same thing.
We could talk about it all day, I think, because it is fascinating. Let Esther, you know how this goes. We're very short on time, but are you convinced by the arguments here? I know you have views on.
I am. Because I don't think it's a bunch of high people walking around. Like, I don't think we're going to have a bunch of high zombies, crashing our streets. But I do think it is good to have an option in a wide range of treatments for various mental health issues, particularly depression. Because what you tend to have is people are over medicalized. They stay on the same antidepressant for years, and they just became, numb zombies. But I do think there should be a stress on physical health as well.
Yeah, of course.
Which is, linked to mental health.
It's one of those debates you don't want to have at the end of the show. That is it from us. Thanks so much to our contributors on this. Whatever you're up to tonight, make sure it's uncensored. Good night.